Let's go then. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the RGM Experience podcast with me, Carl Maloney, that guy from RGM, bothering you again for another week here at the Music Industry Podcast, where we delve into the grassroots music industry and beyond and find interesting people within it. And today is no different, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the young lad, Frankie Dobson, on his hands. Hey up, pal.
All right, how's it going? You all right?
Yeah, sound mate. I'm just going to get some housekeeping out of the way because people are watching these, watching us on YouTube and that. Apologies if you're listening on Spotify and that, but you can get involved too. I found out recently that only 8% of the people that watch our videos aren't subscribed to us, Frankie. The shame of it.
That's rotten. That's rotten.
Yeah, it's madness, isn't it? It's madness. So, what we're asking people to do, if you enjoy the videos and you like supporting new bands and sharing stuff, if you subscribe, we'd really appreciate it. It'd be really good, and we just really appreciate just that little free thing that you can do for us. It'd be great. So yeah, I've got all the housekeeping out of the way, all the social media, YouTube things that people do, mate. So, hey, hope you're right.
Oh yeah, mate. I'm good. I'm good. I've got a cup of tea, so I'm happy.
Nice little Batman cup there and all. That's flash it.
It's not the cup that people want, but it's the cup that people need.
Right, okay, got you. Do you like Batman?
Yeah, no, I actually love Batman. It's one of these things. Is like loads of people joke about it, but like I've got like an unhealthy obsession with Batman.
Oh, go on. Why?
Like,
Where does it all stem from? You want to save the world?
no, me nan randomly told us a story about Batman when I was a kid, and then after that, it was just like on
Yeah.
everywhere. Like all the Christian Bale films came out when I was little.
Yeah.
Showing my youth there. I ended up just watching all of them. I think the first one I watched was the one where Adam West is beating the shark off his leg. The Batman,
Yes.
it's like got the bat shark repellent, and it's labeled like bat hyphen shark
Shark.
repellent. It's got like bat manta ray repellent, bat like stingray repellent. Like, oh, it is rubbish. But like I don't know. I am actually like a proper like as much as I want to pretend that I'm like dead cool and all that because I play guitar and sing and stuff. I'm such a nerd. I have like a bloody what?
Cool as well.
Ah, like,
Oh, nice. There we go.
it's like an issue for like 1968 or something like that.
I've recently got into Lego and I've got the retro Batmobile. I've requested that for Christmas. You know,
Oh, the Adam West one.
yeah, the Adam West
the
Lego Batman
yeah.
one. Yeah, I'm gonna have a bit of that over Christmas, I think.
That's a good one. I've been sort of getting, but I don't know. It's one of them things. I think like doing music so much, like trying to find a hobby outside of music,
Yeah.
it's like can also be very time consuming because like loads of people, I know loads of people like take up photography or like
Yeah.
something like that, or like it does all end up being able to feed back into doing music. Like you can do photography on the road or whatever, but like
Yeah.
like I just got back into reading up on my comic books, me. Like that's all I do.
So
So
is it like a bit of escape? Because I do speak to a lot of people about, what do you do away from music? Because it can consume you, can't it?
mm,
And we've all got day jobs and stuff like that as well. We all like doing what our passion is, doing the music, and for me, the
yeah,
magazine thing. And but sometimes you just want to do something different, don't you? You just want to do something that
yeah.
just you want.
I mean, yeah, I'm very much in the same thing. If I'm not like listening to music or like appreciating music,
Yeah,
like I would be like writing it, recording it, or even just messing about. Like I love just jamming, like sitting and playing
yeah,
guitars. Like I love it. But then I also like I like watching a lot of films. I grew up watching like a lot of films. Like I can't remember. I remember like my dad maybe watched like all the Rockies and Star Wars movies
yeah.
and all the sort of classics like that to the point where like now it's just so I mean, but then like my mum, my favorite film is one that my mum showed me, and it's like Wayne's World. Wayne's World
Okay.
is like, my favorite film ever. That is, I can quote that film from like back to front because I used to watch it on like every sick day with my mum. But then my dad used to make me watch like Quadrophenia and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like I could, they like if depending on who was off work when I had a sick day at school, it'd either be watching Quadrophenia or watching Wayne's World.
Well, it's interesting because or when all the big corporate companies get involved, they spoil those kind of things, don't they? Like Rocky and Star
Mm.
Wars and all that kind of stuff. It's annoying, that, isn't it? I enjoy the originals, but those new ones that come out, I just can't be arsed with that.
They start putting the Rock in everything. I think as soon as
Yeah.
it comes in, or like Jack Black or like Jason Momoa, put one of them three people in your movie, you're done. Fast and Furious, you know what I mean? Done.
The day of the rocks in the Star Wars. That's just when they just need to pack it in it.
The Rock will probably knowing what I know about like The Rock in his movies and stuff, he'll probably want to be the guy who like beats up Darth Vader or something like that, or like he'll want to be like he could do something stupid, like it's insanely overpowered, and then wants to franchise, which is like what he did with the DC movies. He wanted to he wanted to be like the next Superman or something like that.
Well, I do like chatting to you, Frankie, because we do go on a bit, don't we? And we will get to the music, I promise you. But you mentioned The Rock there. I think
if you don't shut me up, mate, I'll never stop.
Nice, come with be here all day. We're a nice 5-hour podcast ahead of you guys. There was just you mentioned The Rock there, and he's brought this new film out, and I saw this interview with him, and the people behind the scenes were talking about like Rock's trying to create this persona of him now as being a more serious actor, so he can get a fucking one of them gold statues on Oscar one day. And I just think, how's that going to happen?
Machine, yeah, he's playing that MMA fight. It's called like the Smashing Machine or something. Yeah. He's got like all this like proper like heavy makeup on. It doesn't even look like him. But like do you know what? It's like one of them, he's doing one of them A24 films, which is like the proper like film buff. Like if you're a film buff, you mainly watch A24 movies and stuff like that.
What's an A24 movie?
Oh, do you know what? I can't even think of like one off the top of my head, but they're like just a specific type of like director. There's like loads of people who've done them, but like they're just like proper artsy, and they've got like
okay,
you know what I mean? Like they're one of them like proper like a film buffs movie. It's not like it's not like me watching Christian Bale like going like, like
is it like when Ricky Gervais said to Kate Winslet, if you play a mental, you get an Oscar?
Yeah, it's like Mental or a Nun or something like that. Yeah, one of the two.
Oh well, let's crack on with the music anyway, mate. So I really enjoyed a weekend with you recently when we were up in Bridlington watching a few bands for this Feelings Live by the Sea weekend. That was a good weekend, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, we still have yet to try and fix our marriage, but the weekend was, wasn't it?
What do you mean?
I thought, do you know what? Brid by the Sea was really good. I played like the year before, on the acoustic stage, and that was really, really good. But just to be like invited down as just like a punter and like actually going like, to be honest, I have like a bit of a weekend off where like I can go and see bands and like not have to worry about like loading in, sound checking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like George and them from this feeling like they sorted us right out, like give us like his eyes like discount the tickets and that, and then like I got there and Mikey was like, where's your Access All Areas band? And I was like, oh, I didn't come here expecting one. Like I wasn't like, like, I just don't have one. He just come back out, thing just like whacked it on my wrist, and I was like, that's kind of what those guys are this feeling. That's kind of what like that says a lot like about them as well, and what they'll do for like the bands that they like play for them. You know what I mean? Like if they like you, you know what I mean? Like they'll go away and like make you feel like a part of it, because it was a really good weekend. Like I met like a lot of people there who like since then have like sort of kept in touch with, like, obviously I mean we've known each other for like a while now, but like I'm talking like I met like John Kennedy from like Radio X, who ended up playing like Better Luck Next Time, and I met Jericho Keys as well, and like even like a few bands there that I've gigged with before, and it was just like nice to catch up amongst peers. Like Finn Forster's a good lad. Like he's from Middlesbrough, and obviously I'm from like County Durham, he's like sports football team and that. So we were just like sat, like he was on stage and he'd come off and we was like sat talking about like the Middlesbrough match and stuff like that. And then like I ended up
because that weekend Middlesbrough beat Sheffield United, didn't they? That weekend, that was
that was brilliant. That I remember we were both really hungover outside. It was really good that. But yeah, it was like I'm trying to think who else. Like obviously like there's bands like Stone and stuff like that where like I'm quite good mates. So like Finn, like he came down. I met him on like a night out at the Hawley Arms in like London. I was like down there seeing family, and he was just there. And he was mates with the mate that I had used to knock about with when I was younger. And played down in Camden one time. Just invited him down on a whim, and he came. And then I went down to Liverpool to record Better Luck Next Time, and he was recording the second Stone album. She's like, "Oh, do you want to come around my house for fish and chips?" And I'm staying with me nan. Do you want to come around my nan's house? And I was like, "What?" Like a bit mental. Obviously, it's like Finn's dad's obviously John Power from Cast, in it. So like going around his nan's house and like there's pictures of his like dad and like Lee Mathers everywhere. And I was like trying not to have like my we're not worthy Wayne's World moment, like being like, oh my god, this is because like also like he's kind of like just a mate. So I was a bit like, I don't want to be like started gushing up your old man, you know what I mean? But no, it was like they were playing, so like just got to see Stone again and like hear some of their new stuff, and like lottery winners as well. Like I'd never really seen lottery winners. I spoke to Tom a few times, and he was just really nice, just really, really sound people. Like invited both headline bands. He just invited us back to the dressing room, like just like saying like, "Oh, we're probably not going to drink these beers, Frankie. Do you want them?" And I was just like, "Go on, go on then." So yeah, it was really really good. I mean, I'm trying to think of else. And there's Lizzie, is it Lizzie Saw as well from Newcastle?
Yeah, well, I'm going to mention Lizzie. We had her on the podcast a few weeks ago, and it was straight after you saying to me, well, "You've got to come and see this lass, Lizzie Esau from up your way,"
Oh,
she was so good, and just from that, I had her on the podcast the other day. Have a chat, delve into the archives, guys. Check out Lizzie. She's proper class. It looked like she had a sold out gig in Manchester the other night. I had a gig on myself, so I couldn't quite make it to go down and see her, but. It would just
she's really like I'd seen I think Lizzie was probably one of the first people when I first moved to Newcastle when I was at uni. I used to like I was always thinking like, oh, I'll go to plenty of gigs with like people that I just don't know.
Yeah.
And I got a free ticket to go and see the Amazons, and she was supporting the Amazons. And I was like, you know, go on then. And then like that was like she was mint. And then I'd gone to see the Pale White at the Grove in Newcastle. She was opening for them as well there. And I was just thought like the music in of itself was mad. Like the way that she writes songs and stuff is like really, really like it's proper. It really is something special. So I was like, it's one of them ones where it's like her, and then there's someone else called like Courtney Dixon, who's from Newcastle as well, who's also wicked. I'd seen her in like Xerox, which like then became like my stomping ground for ages, like going there and drinking all the time. But she did a Christmas gig there, and once I just went on the random because I seen a flyer in like a vintage shop. Yeah. I was like, oh, that looks kind of sick. Like I'll go to that, and I used to just like do that all the time. So that's how I like sort of ran into seeing like running into people like Lizzie and stuff like that, like just amongst it, like literally just like having no shame and just going to a gig as a punter. Like I think it's so important nowadays. But like just to like go there and like if you're gonna go there and like soak it up as like I'm gonna go there to show people on my story that I was there, then it's kind of like there's no point. If you actually like what you're going to see, then like you don't really like stand there and like go like that and be like pretend that you know the words. It's just one of them things where like I really do like think sometimes like band if you do genuinely have an appreciation for the band, it's a really important thing, especially like nowadays with the way that like some parts of the music scene work. It's nice to know that like there are some people who are just sound.
Yeah, well, that's another great thing about the Billington thing, because just from sharing loads of music through RGM, meeting the people that read the stuff and the community, the music loving people that go to this feeling gigs and go to those type of shows. It's a big, massive, nice community that goes to those shows. I've been to all three of them for the last 3 years, and it's similar faces that you see there, and it's just it's such a. And it's like a big community off Twitter and all. Twitter seems to have a massive music community that some bands tend to ignore and think, "Oh, I'm not going to bother with that social media platform. I'd prefer to just use whatever." You know what I mean? But there's a lot of people missing out on X Twitter. I think, and there's a lot of people that use that to meet new people and go out to gigs and be in the moment at gigs and not film themselves like you just mentioned, and just be in the moment and like music.
Yeah, it's one. I mean, like, there's from what I can, because even when I played this feeling like by the sea, because it was like the week of my like 22nd birthday, and I'd instead of like, because I was just doing it on my own, so I didn't bring any of my band. I just brought my best mate like from home, like me and him just got on the lash all day, and it was really like it was really just a good day. Like, there's loads of people who even like because I started like doing gigs and stuff with this feeling like when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
At the time that I was coming up with my old band, like the K's had just burst onto the scene, the Claws had just burst onto the scene. I got my foot in by like supporting like Michael Gallagher because he's from Hartlepool. And like me and Michael, like every time Michael's got a gig like up and around, he'll always try and like get us on because I've known him since I was probably about 15 or 16. And like he's always just been like a really nice fella, great song. I've got a lot of time for Michael. And he's just one of that's what I mean, like the sort of people who are like, yeah, like we've done all these gigs here, like I'll spot you, like, you know, because I know you're like a nice lad and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when I first started coming up on this feeling gigs, it was like the K's, the Claws, like all them sort of bands are releasing their first album now. And it makes me sound like ancient. I'm 23. Like I was doing that all when I was like, I think me and my old band supported the K's when we were like, I was 17. Because I remember it was at the Clooney Newcastle. It wasn't this feeling gig necessarily, but they they all knew we like basically they all knew that we couldn't get that many people in because we were like young in that, and obviously the Clooney didn't let many people in over age 18. They're just like the end of the gig, they'd like bought like a second crate of like lager and just like said, "Hey lads, you've done a really good. Like you're actually really, really good. We really like you guys." You know, he couldn't have much of a gig because like he's a youngins and all that. It's like, but when we were youngins, we were like, we used to like sneak, like try and steal the band's riders and stuff, and you just didn't do that, which is really surprising. And we're like, all right, it's like, so we've been to the shop and just got you a crate, like have a good one. And they literally just like slapped us with this massive crate of lager. And we just like, it was sat like my dad used to drive to all the gigs and stuff like that. And just me and lads sat in the back just being like, thank you, thank you.
We're off.
Thank you. And then like over the years, like as I've gotten older and stuff like that, like, I still kept in contact with them. And again, just really like just sound lads. You know what I mean? It's always like whenever I bump into them at a gig or from backstage somewhere, they'll be like, it's not like a, oh my, you can tell. It's like, oh my God, I haven't like seen you in like ages. And it's like, you see them at a gig like last week, you just didn't speak to them. Where they're like, they'll just come like, all right, Frankie, man, how's it going? Like, it's just as like that. Like, I'll just treat it as like you did see them the other day. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which is, it's just nice. You know what I mean?
Well, I think we've just mentioned like a handful of, bands that are out there, doing the thing, all from the Northeast. What is it about the Northeast at the minute that's bringing all these artists out, including yourself, of course, mate?
I think the thing is with the Northeast, I think like especially the music scene, like there was a thing a while, the music scene's always kind of been there. It's just sort of been like neglected a little bit over the years. I think with like the rise of like someone like Sam Fender coming out of Newcastle's really put the Northeast on the map. Because you had bands like Future Heads and stuff from Sunderland, but like they never really like sort of broke it. You know what I mean? They were like they're one of them like noughties like indie sleaze bands. But I think like you get people like Sam Fender sort of come out and it's like, oh, what's actually going on up here? And then, like I say, you get people like Finn Forster, who like when I met him, we were doing Battle of the Bands gigs in Mexborough where he was supporting the Ratings, and then after that he's playing stadiums like Stereophonics. I think there was like a lot of there was and is a lot of discourse sometimes and like a lot of like Uber politics because there's like a lot of new attention that's been dragged towards the Northeast music scene because like I say, Sam Fender's just won the Mercury Prize and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Sunderland got granted like a music grant and stuff, and everyone's sort of like riding this high of like finally we're being noticed. But I think there's sort of like a caution in that sometimes where like, I mean, that's two big cities I'm talking about there, like Newcastle, they're big cities, Middlesbrough's a city, where I come from, like County Durham, like there's if not any like sort of bands that are around that area who wouldn't go on the record and say that they were from Newcastle to get bigger. I mean, I've done it. You know what I mean? The first time I ever did gigs in Newcastle was by lying and saying that I was from Newcastle. Because they go, promoter will look and go, freaking hell's Bishop Auckland that? You know what I mean? There isn't a band scene around where I'm from. Like where I'm from, like say that's why I moved to York. Like it's just there's not like a band scene that really like cares or like pub music. I mean, they used to have like loads of bands back in like say like early 2000s, but it's just like too many people thinking they were Julian Casablancas, but like living too much of their lifestyle without writing tunes. But it was like there is like a few sort of bands that are like probably chipping away in like County Durham now. But like when I was sort of like coming through, like especially like with my old band, there was really just us at the time, and then I started doing it on my own, and then I by that point I was already living in Newcastle for a year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And everyone by that point was the assumption that I was a Geordie, and I was like, I'm absolutely categorically not. So okay. No, thank you. So yeah, it's like I mean, there's probably only one other lad from like my area who's like doing quite well, and I always feel obliged to sort of like push him a little bit because he's really good. As a lad from like I used to teach him guitar actually. His mum used to teach me at school, a lad called Chris Kramer. He's like 17, and like the only reason I like sort of spotted him, so apparently he came to like one of my old band's gigs when he was like 12 or 11 or something, and he wanted to start a band, and he told me that, and I was like, why? We were like crap, like we weren't that good. God, like, and he just like he kind of reminded me a little bit like what I was like when I was a kid because he's got like the same attitude. And it's really funny because like I always think it's a bit like Mini Me from Austin Powers and like I'm Dr. Evil and it's all right, but his tunes are actually really good. Like get him on his own, his tunes are great. He's like he just sort of dots about playing guitars. There's a lot of promise there though. It's just like because there's no real funding or like belief or even like positivity around like sort of County Durham, Bishop Auckland, like them places. There's not a lot at all for music to go about. You know what I mean? So like that's why people do move to Newcastle, and they do move to, they'll move to York or Leeds or Manchester. And like, I mean, I've done gigs like down in Leeds and people have been like, "Oh, you're from Bishop Auckland? I'm from Darlow, like Darling." And I'm like, "What? Why are you?" And they're like, "Why are you?" You know what I mean? It's like, well, we're here clearly for the same reason.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I think
What you mentioned the disc. What's the discourse on the politics of the Northeast? Then talk me through that. Let's dig into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's just one of them things where like I think with it's always a touchy subject with like the music scene and stuff like that, especially now that like everything's being funded properly. People have sort of realized that they're actually worth something. But I think given there comes a level of entitlement there that kind of, I mean, when I've been in bands and stuff, I've been doing this since I was like essentially like 13, and I've kind of learned quickly like there's a certain ego that you're not allowed to have. I mean, it's kind of justifiable when you're a teenager, but like when you're like in your like when you start your 20s, people take you seriously, and it's your duty not to sort of spoil that reputation. So I've done gigs where like it's been to like a sold out room of like a bunch of people's mates, and everyone thinks it's like Glastonbury, and it's like, they'll come on stage and like do all. I mean, I've done it. You know what I mean? Like you go on stage and go, "Come on," like that. Like you think you're like Nebworth or something, but you're playing. Everybody in the crowd. Or like you'll go and do a gig elsewhere. Like, oh, it's not worth our time, and it's like this is like the groundwork. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of like that involved. But again, like I do think like sometimes like I think it's just basically it's the way that the music scene works now is that like it's given sort of these two sort of towns like Newcastle and something like this platform to do something really good with it, but it's still continued to overshadow all the smaller parts of it, like Durham, you know what I mean? Which to me, or like Hartlepool, like Michael Gallagher's done insanely well for himself. You know what I mean? Like he come from Hartlepool, moved to Manchester, and it's like that's what you have to do if you're not from that sort of town. Like there's no musical heritage like at all around from my ends, except for like Gem Archer's from Hunwick. You know what I mean? That's from Oasis. He's from Hunwick, and it's like that's it. That's literally it. So it's like,
yeah.
Who else we got? Scarlett Moffat from Gogglebox. Yeah, nice one.
Right.
She's actually from Bishop. Like, yeah. But that's it. Like, and I think that's sort of it's all. The thing is, it's all new and it's all exciting, and like everyone's like proper buzzing about it. But for some people, it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's to me, it's like one of them things. I'm like, okay, this is great, you guys.
Well, since Bridlington, we had. Sorry, I'm just getting over a cold thing. We had Katie Anderson on from Tom A. Smith's band.
Oh, yeah.
She was a really interesting guest, really, just saying it from her perspective of being in a band and just being in that community up northeast where there's just a lot going on. She was more diplomatic than that, I suppose, where she just enjoys it. She's out there, she's happy to be doing these gigs and to be playing the smaller venues. There was just absolutely, and just from speaking to Tom over the years and his dad and that kind of stuff, there's no entitlement from that side of the community, so they probably don't see it as much. Does that sit right with you being having a different opinion?
It's what, yeah. I mean, I know Kate. Them lot are all right. I think the thing is, it's like I'm saying this like I hate everything, right?
I know.
Like, I'm such a miserable bastard.
My channel's always looking on it. Everything. I've got that thing inside me where I'm always looking for the negative for some reason. Yeah. So I know.
I mean, I say that like I mean like every gig that I do is one of them little gigs. You know what I mean? Because I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not at that stage yet, and like I think now I'm sort of putting them building blocks together, and like it's that's that's all well and good. I think in terms of like again. I think, like I said, those guys for places like that, they have just got this new breath of fresh air, and they're probably appreciating it. But for like say for people on like the outside sort of curve, it's one of them things where it's like, yeah, okay, no, I'm happy for them. It doesn't make any difference to me. But like, it's just one of the things of like, I think there is the thing where like, I mean, I suffer from it a lot of like getting a bit comparative now and again. Of being like, well, that person's doing that. Why am I not doing that? And say, well, the same opportunities aren't there. You know what I mean? But I think that's nothing to do with myself or any of like my sort of peers. It's just to do with like what's been put there. You know what I mean? And how people just cracked on with it. It's going to be a lot. It's going to. I think it is marginally a lot harder for somebody from a small town to make sort of anything of themselves when there's no funding or belief there. Because like I said, there's no music. You know, there was no music funding. Like even when I was at like school, I had to go to a different college instead of going to like my skills sixth form because they wouldn't put the music course on for one person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they went, look, we know we're not going to put that music course on. So like, you know, do you really want to come here and do like English literature, English language? And I was like, nah, you're all right. You know, but that's that sort of thing. There's always been like this sort of like underfund, especially like say in places like Durham and Darlington and all this. Like, there's been this underfunding of like music in general. So like it's all for me, it's like it's all well and good, like the Northeast getting it in general, but it's like it's still the two biggest. It's always been a case of like you have to go up to Newcastle to do a gig in the Northeast, like, or you have to go to Stockton to do a gig in the Northeast, like, or you have to go to Sunderland to do a gig in the Northeast. That's what's classed as doing a gig in the North. So to me, it never really made a difference. You know what I mean?
Well, you mentioned it a couple of times there. That it's more funded now. What's that mean? Where's this funding coming from? What that's new in the Northeast that people are.
Yeah, it's like there's like a bit of there was a lot of gigs, there was like a lot of gig venues closing down like after on the back end of lockdown,
Yeah.
which is really sad. Like a place called Bobbick's in Newcastle, which was great. That like closed down, and there was loads of these places like sort of suffering for funding, which was just really like it was quite sad to be honest. But then sort of there's this like you said, this new sort of breath of fresh air came into Newcastle, especially like when I was living there, of like I mean, I don't know if it's just because I was discovering for the first time or like venues started like changing where like instead of because when I was like younger, it used to be like you go to the O2 or you go to like Think Tank and that kind of that be that. But then you had like the Riverside as well, but then the Riverside closed down. You got places like Xerox in Newcastle, fantastic venue. Like that band Keo, who did that I Lied Amber tune, they were meant to play Xerox and it was like 120 cap. It got upgraded like 3 times to like Northumbria Uni, which is like mental. So there are like all these like venues and stuff. I think that like I said that there was a few sort of like government grants that have been passed around there and wherever that have been sort of definitely helped to fund it. But I do think the influx of publicity of people like Sam Fender definitely helped like the Northeast music scene like thrive a little bit more. Yeah. And like it's really like it is really positive because like I wish that like that was existent when I was like 17. You know what I mean? Because for us it was just like telling people with having to sort of blag our way into the gig, like putting on mini buses from Bishop to try and get 30 people up there and back, and like stuff like I used to like go around door to door in Bishop, like getting a list of people's names who like got tickets, right? Yeah. Literally on like a mountain bike, with a backpack on, like dropping tickets off door to door because people wouldn't come and meet me to buy tickets because they wanted to be like essentially the ticket put in their hand. They wanted to be dropped off, picked up back at home. You know what I mean? Like all that, or else they wouldn't come because then they'd have an excuse to be like, I couldn't get the X21 bus. That's like a direct bus to Newcastle. It takes an hour. Like, I can't afford the train, or the last bus is too late. So it's like we used to take that option completely out of people's hands and just go, right, there's a minibus. This is where you got to be outside of Spoons, and we'll pick you up and drop you off exactly there.
That's a breath of fresh air, Frankie. You don't see that very often because, if I'm putting gigs on myself, it only takes somebody to fart, doesn't it, to think, I can't make this gig now. That's just changed. It could be anything, could it? Like any tiny little thing, anything, an excuse to not go to a gig.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
A lot of people, it's a real thing.
Exactly, and it's like that is what, like I said, that to me, that sort of work ethic, even now, hasn't really changed in me.
Yeah.
Where I got like since moving to York, doing publicity for the Fulford Arms gig, I got a message off York City Council for fly posting.
Right.
I've got the posters here, like the posters. Literally, I printed off 1,000 of these, right?
Yeah.
You're like, is it like that's it?
Nice.
5. I went around lampposts, places like that with spray glue and stuck it on there, right? And then I got an email saying that if I don't take off York City Council, if I don't take them down, I'm going to get charged 110 quid per poster.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. And the funny thing was, and it was kind of ironic thinking about it now, is I'd stuck it on with like the same stuff that you lay carpets with.
Shit. So
Yeah, so it was not coming off. And that's so I had like industrial strength glue, and then I had to find industrial strength glue remover, and it was like
oh, so
stuck.
so you did go around and take them all off?
Oh, I had to take a few of them down. Yeah, I mean, some of them kind of already got ripped down and like whatever. I mean, I stuck them outside of like where the kebab van parks up in like the
Yeah.
center of town. So if people were like drunk on a night out, they might just go, "Oh, what's this?" and like, you know what I mean? I'd thought about it. I'd been like smart about it, but then after that, I just printed off a load of big posters and like when on the day that they said like, "Oh, you got to take all these posters down," instead of taking the posters down, I ordered some bigger posters and then went into like coffee shops in like independent places and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and like sort of just asked to put them up.
Yeah.
But that to me is like that's sort of the ethic that you kind of have to have with doing because there is like say social media is great. I mean, I thought because I do everything like myself.
Mm.
Um, I'm not one of these bands who like claim to do it themselves. They've got like a manager and a booking agent and that, all that stuff.
There's a few of them about.
Yeah, but like literally, like I'll come back in from work, get in at 6 o'clock, and then I've got to like write songs, do the promotion, do the social media, and then it's all that sort of 5 a day stuff, and then still have the capacity to sit on the couch and like have a minute to myself. You know, I like go and see my mates and stuff like that. Like I am completely 100% dedicated to the cause, but I can't write songs about sitting and making TikTok content.
Yeah.
That'd be a pretty crap song.
Yeah, it will be a crap song.
You know what I mean? So it is one of these things where like I do get really exhausted by it. And I do have these, I mean, like at the minute, I mean, I'm getting ready for this Fulford Arms gig, like that's in like 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
You know, and it is nearly sold out, and I am really excited for it. We've got like I've been writing like an absolute like man on fire at the minute because like in my head, I'm a bit like right stuff the social media. If this gig's not good, there's no point in sharing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what am I going to do instead of making TikToks of me lip syncing my next single?
Yeah.
I'm going to write some really good songs. I'm going to make sure that the show itself is completely bulletproof. I'm going to sell as many tickets as I can. You know, that's the only thing I'll probably post on social media about is the gig. You know what I mean? In my head at the minute, it's just the only thing that's important music wise is this gig, and we've been working for it all year. You know what I mean?
Nice.
We announced this gig at the start of the year, and to say now that it's gone the way to selling out, and we haven't even announced the support acts yet. It's like it's kind of mental, but that's what getting bollocked off York City Council and all that. It's worth it. Would I do it again? 100%.
Yeah.
That in my head, that'll be way more until I get someone following me around doing TikTok content for me, right?
Yeah.
Writing the songs and making sure that the live set itself is amazing. It will always be more important to me.
Yeah. Well, let's rewind a little bit. When did you like first start to feel like music's in you? When did you realize that it's what you're doing?
Since birth. No, I don't know.
Came out with your guitar.
Yeah. I don't know. It was because the thing is, I was never like a musical kid growing up. Like, I mean, like growing as a kid. Like, my dad's a mod, so he was really into like all of that. And he was like a mod in the 90s, so it was like Ocean Colour Scene and Oasis and stuff like that. But he kind of circled back to it a little bit. My mom's side of the family, like, two of my uncles were DJs back in the 90s. And they used to, one of my uncles was a DJ, the other one was a promoter. And they used to put these gigs on in Cambridge called like Eclipse, or like these massive like raves in Cambridge Corn Exchange, which were like huge. Like they used to put like 808 State and the Prodigy on and stuff like that. And there's like photos of like my uncles like in videos like of them dotted about all over like the internet. They were like practically like famous at that side of like rave culture, which I didn't really look into until I was maybe about 17. Yeah. But my granddad played guitar. Like some of my uncles and that on my dad's side played a lot of guitar. A lot of family dudes would end up with someone playing the guitar. I used to have like a little ukulele that I used to like dot about with and stuff, and like little toy guitars. But then like I think when I was like the first time I actually properly started playing was like my year 6 leavers assembly. My sister had a guitar, which is now mine. And they were playing like Stand By Me, and I said that I wanted to play it. And like I used to go around my granddad's like every Friday for lessons when I was younger, and like all this stuff. And I got like I learned how to play a bar chord off one of my teachers at school called Mr. Brunton. And he was like, because he played guitar and stuff, and he was like, what? My granddad never heard of a bar chord, and my dad thought that I was going to embarrass myself because he's like, "You've never played guitar in your life. What are you doing?" You know, and I mean, like, it was. I always wanted to play guitar. I always wanted to do that. Like, I think I remember when I wanted to play guitar, it was like because of Marty McFly in Back to the Future.
Oh.
That scene where he just completely it's like the nerd gets revenge a little bit.
Is that when he blows up the big speaker thing?
No, it's the Johnny B. Good bit where
right, okay,
he starts playing Johnny B. Good, but then he flies off the handle and starts like jumping off the speaker, and like like the whole band even stops, and it's just him just going for it, and he like stops for a minute, like in his insanity, and everyone's looking at him like,
"You're not ready for it yet."
Yeah, but your kids are gonna love it. Like to me, that was like, oh my god. So when I started learning, like my dad used to literally go like, "Frankie, you are gonna like, son, like, please don't do this." Like I was probably about 12. My dad was like such a stress head at the time. He's like, "Oh my god, my son's gonna like embarrass himself. This is horrible." And my granddad had like, your granddad was like, "I don't even know what." Like my granddad only used to play like open chords and stuff. Never heard of a bar chord before. So he was like, my granddad's like, "What is he even doing? I have no idea what any of this is." Like, because my granddad was the patented guitar player in the house. And then it got to the night of the performance, and I sort of come out with this guitar. My dad's going like, he sat at the back of the room, literally like, he's told me the story so many times. He's like, sat at the back of the room, like, oh my god. And I played Stand By Me, and my dad was like, apparently my dad was like crying his eyes out because he was like, finally he's good at something. Tried me on football, rubbish at football, tried me like every sport in the world, and like I used to like rub mud on my knees after football because I didn't want to get my kit dirty, but I wanted to look like I was involved. You know, so like it was, he was like, oh my god, he's good at something. Finally, like he's into something. Because up until that point, I literally used to sit at home and watch cartoons and like do what any normal child would do. But yeah, my dad was like, oh my god, this is great. And then like when I got to secondary school, like I found out you could get out of lessons to learn guitar. You could like, they would take you half an hour out of a lesson to learn guitar. And it usually for me, it would always fall on maths. So I was always like, sign me up for that. I'll have a bit of that. Come on. Give me a bit of that. But then I used to like, got the point where I was like skipping full lessons and hiding in the music room. Like I felt like I really did just become like completely obsessed with the guitar. And it was one of them things where like I would, it's weird. Like it's weird. It's one of them things where I genuinely don't know where I'd be without it, because like I think at the time, like I was a very I used to be very like, believe it or not, I used to kind of be quite quiet, or I used to talk without a purpose, out of nerves. You know what I mean? I used to feel like I had to speak because like if I didn't, people would find me boring. And then finally I found something that I was good at, that I actually thought, wow, I look really cool here. And you know, I was just at that point, it was like, as well, like school never really made sense to me. Like I could never focus. I always thought it was boring. Like I'd sooner chuck like a pencil at the ceiling and see if it would stick. Like I genuinely just didn't care for it at all. And I think like when I found out that I could do guitar, that was like I couldn't. I was like, I couldn't give a shit if I'm like if I'm failing all my classes. If I can get an A star in playing the guitar, then that's good enough for me. And then when I started this, like I started getting into like what my dad was like used to listens to, which is like the Jam and the Clash and like bands like that. Oasis were like a huge one. The Stone Roses are like my favorite band ever. They were that. There's no band that will ever touch that for me. Like stuff like I got into like all of that sort of side of music, and found out that there's some of these guys. Hang on a minute, like these guys are kind of just like me. You know, none of them. They kind of really don't really come at the time. Didn't really come from anywhere. Didn't really have a lot going on for them. Found this thing, and it was like their, you know, there was like their thing. Even like before that, I used to listen like before, and I used to love like Green Day, Blink-182, loves like pop punk stuff. You know what I mean? Like I was saying earlier, like my sister was a massive McFly and Busted fan growing up, so like I got kind of indoctrinated into all that as well. And that's just sort of like amalgamation of like, this is actually like possible. Like musicians don't just like appear out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
I can remember seeing Green Day at the Lead Mill. It was when Ducky just come out, the first album. I'm that old. And fucking Green Day were playing little venues at the time because they weren't massive like they are now. They played Leadmill, and my only memory from that gig, apart from just the famous songs off the album, were the singer, what is it, Billy Joe is called?
Billy Joe Armstrong, yeah.
There we go. He spat a big greenie onto the roof at Leadmill, and it dripped down after, and he caught it in his mouth.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's. Do you know what? Like Green, like for me, like bands like Green Day. I think one of them performances. I've never seen Green Day. I used to watch like my thing was like I was with the generation of kids who just watched everything on YouTube.
Yeah.
I used to watch when I found out I could watch like old live gigs and stuff. Like there's one of Billy Joe Armstrong playing the VMAs, and they got like Katy Perry and all that around him. Billy Joe's like really small. He's like 5'5" or something like that. He's quite small. And there's a thing where he gets all the crowd on stage, and the crowd like surround him, and he just doesn't know like what's what, and he's like literally getting moved back, and then he just gets all these people to raise him up, like he's like singing his heart out, and like face melt, like playing the guitar, like it's nobody's business. I think Billy Joe has got a lot to answer for my slouch, though. I play my guitar so high nowadays because I spent a lot of time as a teenager.
I played it that low because it was really unique how he played guitar, weren't it? I can't imagine how. Yeah, I can't see how it works.
It's because you have to really throw your hand down to hit the strings. It hits it differently. Because if I have to pick up a guitar now, I do instinctually like put it lower than I should do. But that's just because of old habits. You know what I mean? Like now I have to like think, but yeah, like all them sorts of bands, like and there's like even like more when I got into like the mod thing through my dad. There was bands like do you remember like the Stripes?
Yeah.
Like you were like 13 and did like the Arctic Monkeys tour and stuff like that, who I thought was sick at the time. And then like the Spitfires. Oh my God. Like Billy Sullivan and the Spitfires, like they had such a massive impact on like the way that I thought about things. Because, everyone sort of drew that comparison to the Jam and whatnot. And, to me, they were kind of like that as well. But I went to go see them at like the Portland Arms in Cambridge when I was like 14. And Billy was like 20, 22, 23, 21, sorry. He's somewhere like the age that I'm at now. And he come on stage and he was like exactly how I imagined him to be. Like he was saying like on stage, like, did you watch the Brit Awards the other night? It was a fucking shambles, man. Like UK is like, I remember he said like the UK has been responsible for like the best songwriters of all time. And this is what we've got to show for it. He's like, and he just went, oh, like that. And I was stood there like, this is amazing. And I went outside after the gig and he was out there like smoking a cig. And I was like, it's really cool to like meet you. Like, I'll completely agree with everything that you said, fucking braces on like that. And like, he was just stood there like puffing on the cig, like telling me like, oh, how old are you? I was like 14. And he like sort of like put his fag out on the floor straight away and like that. And he was just like, he said, are you in a band? And I was like, yeah, I'm like trying to start one. And he was like, well, I'll keep an eye on you. Like, and then since then, like I went to go see me and Billy, like just still like quite close even now. Like I was lucky enough to support the Spitfires on their last gigs with my old band. We did 2 dates with them. We did Newcastle and did like Leeds with them. That was amazing. And then Billy went solo and he played the 100 Club. I got to play. He just said, do you want to come play 100 Club in London? It's like, yeah, go on then. And then even now, it's like I went to go see them when they played like the Coco in Camden for like 10 years since their first album. And it was just like going from like being a fan to kind of him kind of dishing out advice to us whenever I'm sort of feeling a bit lost in my way, to then him almost being like a peer. You know what I mean? Him going, how old are you now, Frankie? I go, I'm 20, 22 or 23. And he goes, oh my God. He literally last time I seen him went, oh my God, I'm done. Like we can sit and why you go, Frankie, do you want a pint? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's that progression. Like it was something that really like it's just like it was just really nice to see, like, say, because when I got into all of that, like I did feel like a little bit sort of disenfranchised as a teenager of everything that was sort of going on, and like it made me think about things a lot more. You know what I mean? It made me a little bit more like, hang on a minute, like you don't actually need to go to school to like learn all these things, because what does it matter? You know what I mean? What does it matter what the lad at school says to you about how you have your hair? Because like realistically, if you carry on with the music and you're good at it, he's gonna be a fucking bricklayer. You know what I mean? No shame against bricklayers, but you know what I mean? Like it's why care about anybody's opinion but yourself, and like have that self-assurance, which to a teenager who a lot of the time can be very insecure, I think it's such a positive attitude to have. People like Liam Gallagher are exactly the same. You wonder why there's so many lads in bands and stuff, because at one point they were probably like that, and you've seen someone like Liam Gallagher, or to me like Paul Weller, like Billy from the Spitfires, and you think like wow, like no, you could just have the balls to do that. Because I've seen pictures of Billy when he was a teenager and he had right massive glasses, right? And now he's like the coolest dude. Even now he's like one of the coolest geezers I've ever met in my life. And it's
I can remember that. I can remember that exact time when I started to think I don't give a fuck about other people's opinions anymore. And it was mid-20s kind of time. It was quite late for me, I suppose. But going through the teenage years and trying to please everybody or trying to, you can't really be yourself, can you, at that age? But when you do get to that stage, whatever time it is for anybody, it's a beautiful time when you just think, oh, I don't give a fuck what they say anymore.
No, I think that was it. I think like for me, especially starting to be in a band so young as well, like I didn't want anybody to find out about it. And then literally the day after I made my old band's Instagram account, everybody found out. And like everyone's like, "Oh, you're in a band. Oh, your band." And then like I remember it was I used to think it was so sick. I used to get like detentions for not doing my homework because we were away gigging at weekends. I used to get taken out of school early on a Friday. My dad would be like, right, we've got so many hours drive down to here to do this gig, but then we've got to be up there to do another gig. And we used to like go around, we used to this is mint. You know what I mean? That was like the best education I think I've ever got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like now I go home, like I never really go back to my hometown. And when I do, I only go back to see my friends. And people who I used to knock about with at school, my mates, just see it as like a normal thing. They're like, yeah, Frankie's in a band. Yeah, but like we'll go and see him. Like he just whatever. People who didn't took the piss out of me, but like, oh, Frankie, do you remember like science at school, mate? I pretend like I don't know any of them. I just for one night disappear, clean up my own ass. Yeah. Like, oh, sorry, mate, did you like come to like a gig or something? Like, and they're like, Frankie, we sat next to each other in science for 3 years. I'm like, so long ago, so many gigs. Crazy. Like I like to do that because in me that's like I am a petty guy, so that is quite it's quite vindicating to an extent as you can imagine. But yeah, man, like that's what I mean. It's one of them things where like even like me and my two like a few of my mates at school, we all like once we found music was like the escapism there, and I think that was once I found that, I didn't feel the need to please anybody else or appease anybody else.
Yeah.
Because it was my thing and my thing alone. Because I used to sit in my room all day and play guitar. Did you come in with my school uniform on and just play guitar all the time? Like I never like felt the need really to kind of go outside unless I was seeing my friends and we were going to listen to music or like going to a gig or whatever. So it did kind of feel like at one point like I did have this superpower of like because I got, to be fair, when I was a teenager, I was quite good for my age, you know what I mean, at playing the guitar. So I was like, I can do this. I don't need to, I can run around kicking a ball around. How homo sapien of you guys. Look what I can do. Get this, man. And I just like whip out King Johnny Be Good and be like, look at that.
Well, you've mentioned it a couple of times. You mentioned your old band without naming them. Is there a particular reason why you don't name them anymore?
No, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, like, I don't want to sound like a washed up rock star when I've literally started. I mean, like, to me, it was never like, I mean, at the time, the Thieves were like we were a cool, like, teenage band. We used to do a lot of covers. I had a good time. At one point, we were then, like, say a lot of my mates, like, sort of who were in the band initially, like, didn't want to pursue it anymore. And they went on to do different things and never, like, held any grudges against them. One of the lads who I started the band with, Will, still one of like my best mates to this day. And we used to argue like fucking the Thieves. Like me and him used to like, because we used to just like go at each other all the time. But then we used to go on stage, take that attitude on stage, tear the house down, come back off stage and be like, oh mate, that was well good, wasn't it? So good that we wound each other up before we went on stage and like exploded on stage and then come back. But then like, yeah, I mean, the thing is like the years sort of went on and I still wanted to do it. And like other people came in and stuff. And I mean, it kind of, it left at the time, it left a sour taste in my mouth about being in a band in general. That's why I prefer to do things on my own. Because I also didn't realize how much control I like to have over the music and stuff. Like I do have a very specific idea of how I want things to sound. And it's not like I was never not open to collaboration, but I just always, I did always have like a sort of bias towards my own opinion. And I think it was one of them things, it was because I was literally in the Thieves from the age of 13 to 20. That was like the most formative years of my life. So like trying to find out who I was after that was a bit mental because I literally I'd missed out on like so many like pivotal parts of being a teenager because I was away doing a gig with the Thieves. But I mean, like, would I change it for the world? Any of the gigs? No, because like not every teenager gets to go and gig up and down the country. Like with the Thieves, like we played the Isle of Wight festival. I'm the first ever person. I found this out like after we did it. I'm the first ever person from Bishop Auckland to ever play the Isle of Wight festival ever and ever. And like I did that when I was 19. You know what I mean? That to me is like, yeah, I did that with my old band and I'm proud of that. You know what I mean? We used to come home and do gigs at like the place called the Pavilion in Bishop and bring the entire town down. And like it would be like the biggest wet sales that bar I'd ever seen the whole year, you know. And we accomplished a lot. And I think when it did die out, it was like in my head, it was very much like a dead horse. And I kind of did feel like, I was the only constant member and I never really felt that like same excitement that I did because I moved the Thieves from Bishop to Newcastle. As soon as it moved to Newcastle, I think it should have just been written off now because I think it was just me refusing to let it go and refusing to move on and to let go of that part of my life where I was like a teenager and stuff like that. Because that is one thing that I think being like in your early 20s is something that you do struggle with. That's part of the entire reason of what Better Luck Next Time's about. Like, it's that growing up and realizing that you're actually not a teenager. You can do adult things, but you're expected to act a certain way. And all your friends and everything in your life moves on. At like kind of adult life's almost like thrust upon you to a point where like you kind of get like this factory reset and you don't know kind of who you are at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, isn't that what your teenage years are about? Like trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
But if you spend your entire life
even your 20s sometimes, pal.
This is what I mean. It's like I spent my entire teen years telling myself I was this guy, the singer from the States and all that, and it become like a different side of me to the point where like when it packed in, I didn't know what to do. We had these gigs booked in. I did it under like the Thieves as guys, like Isle of Wight played it under the Thieves, and at that point, like halfway through the gig, so I went, look, I said to everybody, I was like, it was a massive fucking crowd of people. I went like, that logo shouldn't even be up there. We broke up 2 weeks ago. Yeah. I was like, this is my thing. My name's Frankie. This is my thing. And that's when I probably realized that I wanted to do it on my own.
Yeah, nice.
And because even Willie, I started the Thieves with, like session guitar for me for ages. And because he was there, it felt a lot easier for me to do it on my own because he was like, not only like did we kind of start that together, but he was always a good mate. So it was nice to have that reassurance there. And I knew I trusted him because we'd done like well over 150 gigs together throughout our teen years. You know what I mean? So there was that sort of safety net there. But yeah, it's one of them things where like the thing is I just try to move on from it because whenever I go home, I always get someone going, "Oh, when's the Thieves going to come and play?" Oh, I remember. Right, okay. And I'm like, mate, I was 17. I'm 23. You're going on like I'm 40. Like it's one of them things where like it used to be a lot to unpack for me, like I say, because it was a lot of my years of my life, like trying to get this thing off the ground. But now I just sort of go like, I've still got a lot of time to do whatever the fuck I want. You know what I mean? 23 isn't me being cooked. It's me, still me being, young. Bloody hell, Jesus Christ. Like Sam Fender brought out Hypersonic Missiles when he was like, 25? He'd been playing them songs since he was like 18. That's
wow.
The reality of it now.
Yeah. Sure. So, what a lot you've packed into your young years, mate.
I know. Honestly, I feel I feel very lucky to have done it. I've never took any of it for granted. Being able to, half of that is down to the fact that my parents kind of seen that I was happy doing something. Yeah. Which I'll always give them props for. Like my mum and my dad. Like my dad used to like drive me and like up and down the country to do gigs and to band practices and to like, there's this new amp that I needed and like, but it was in like fucking Harrogate. So pardon my French. It was in like Harrogate, or whatever, and he would just go, all right, okay, and go and pick it up from work without even like asking. Like I'm really lucky to sort of have that sort of support network around us. Now I sort of got to the point where like I don't really, they're not really as involved because I wanted to sit at my folks like, look, there is a point where I'd like you to take a back seat and come to the gigs and just enjoy it and not worry about like being late for sound check or anything like that. Because that's, a lot of people don't get that. And I understand that. When I was younger, I was like, oh, why doesn't everyone fucking folks just do that? But I didn't realize that, like, that's people's different lives, I guess. My parents used to do the same for my sister. When my sister used to ride BMXs, we used to go up and down the country all the time. Like, that's just what the standard of what they would do for us. And I think I'm insanely lucky to, have parents who do that, and like encourage that, because again, without that, I don't think I'd be in the situation that I'm in now, where, I can just do it. And like, I am happy about it. And I'm sure of myself that I can do it. So yeah, it's great. It is something like, it's kind of what I'm saying is that when I have kids, I'm gonna have some kill stories, like kill dad law.
Yeah.
Or even kill granddad law, like young when I was your age. You know what I mean? That's talking like that.
Well, you've got this big gig in York. We'll put a link in the description of this interview for the last few tickets for people to get themselves to a Frankie Dobson gig. Looking forward to seeing you in Manchester for After All next year as well, mate. Looking forward to sharing another pint with you one day. I really enjoyed your time and your company in Bridlington. It was special. I think you've got a beautiful career ahead of you, young man. And as a mate, I'd just like to wish you all the best. And all the best, young Frankie Dobson, mate.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Fulford's going to be something. If it's not sold out, I will cry. But no, it's going to be something. I'm really excited for it. It's definitely a step up. You know what I mean? But it's not a step up where I feel like scared about it. Like, I wouldn't have took the gig if I didn't feel ready for it. And I think that was one of them things where John, the promoter, like went to me and went, "Do you want to do Fulford Arms?" Because I only moved to York like last year. Yeah. He was like, "Do you want to do Fulford Arms?" And I went, "Yeah, go on then." Like, it wasn't like should we like do a few more sports? I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." Fuck it, why not? And I think that's the mentality I think I've got to kind of have nowadays, because if I spend more time like worried about things, or like anybody like sort of doing music things nowadays, like the more time you spend worried about things, the less you're kind of going to get out of it.
Crack on, young man. You've got this.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for joining us for another episode. Thanks for everybody for joining us for this chat today as well. Sticking to the end. We always appreciate every one of you that gets involved with these videos. Share it, like it, subscribe. We mentioned it earlier. Only 10% of people watch this video, watch our videos, subscribe to the channel. Madness. So it's free and all. There's a new hype button that you can press as well that helps out and pushes you out to new people. Have a go with all those little things here on YouTube and give us a 5-star rating on all the Spotify stuff. I've got all the homework out of the way. Mate, all the best. Thanks for joining us today for another podcast, and I'll see you soon. Cheers, Frankie boy.